I left school at 14 because I was pregnant, had a baby and gave her up for adoption at 14. Because of my family, and I was 7 months pregnant when my mum and dad found out that I was pregnant, so we weren't close, and there was a lot of other issues going down. They kind of locked me away for the next 2 months, told everybody I'd gone to Queensland, and nobody was supposed to know I was pregnant, yet it was the school that rang my parents to say, could I be pregnant? And then life went on as if it never happened, and it was, off to work you go, and I did. I went off, got an apprenticeship, got night work, worked my butt off, and just got into that busy, don't think about it. Whenever we used to move house, I would ring the adoption agency and say, this is my new address, if my daughter would like to be found, I'm here, this is where I am. And one day I rang, and about 3 months later they rang me back and said that I'd rung them 3 months ago, and on the same day, Naomi, my daughter, had actually rung to inquire about me. That's not totally uncommon that same day kind of thing happens. So that was like, ooh. We went from there to speaking through a mediator. So I would talk to someone on the phone and they'd talk to her, and then she'd ask them questions, they'd ask me, I'd answer, and this went back and forwards. And then we progressed to a letter. So I sat and wrote a letter and sent photos of myself and my children. And at that point, something stopped. Don't know what happened. I didn't know what happened. I just got notification to say that something had happened in her life and don't call us, we'll call you. And they gave no explanation, just said that I didn't do anything wrong. Well, I'll let you know that my head told me all the things that I could have done wrong, whether I did or not. And 7 years went by, and God miraculously caused all these circumstances to happen to make me know I was supposed to call. I rang the adoption agency, they contacted her, and we went back to her receiving the letter I'd written 7 years earlier. She received the letter, and then she wrote me a letter, and my husband got on the internet, and with the little bit of knowledge we had about her, because we didn't know her surname, the little bit of knowledge that we had about her, he found her because she's a musician, and she had mentioned that she would dress up as a particular character for birthday parties, and so he's worked out how to use the internet, and he found her and took everything in my power not to press the button that said, you know, contact me, press this button. So I came back into the house one day, and he had this music on. He said, do you know who this is? And I'm like, no. And it was her singing. So she's got a bunch of CDs, and they travel Europe as musos and so forth. Anyway, we met sometime later. First thing, she rang me on my birthday one year, and just after this happened, and he'd organised it, and she said, good morning, happy birthday. And I'm, thank you. She said, you don't know who this is, do you? And I said, no, but keep talking, you sound familiar. So she kept talking, and about 3 times she said, you don't know who this is, do you? But she kept asking questions, and I'm saying, well, I don't know who you are, who the voice is, but you're really familiar. If you keep talking, I might work it out. By now I'm thinking it's a really good friend's daughter, and that a really good friend's put a daughter up to it to trick me. And she said, you won't ever guess because you've never heard my voice before. And then I knew it was her. And so that was our first contact. And then it was about 5 months later we actually physically met. She was 28 then, she's 42 now, or she's 42 this year. And it was lovely. She said at 19 there was grudges and hurt, but by 28 she'd realised, oh, well, I guess, you know, this lady was 14. And you know what, you didn't have a say in it anyway. Not back then and not at 14. Later when I got this contact from Naomi that it actually started to surface. And I went to some adoption counselling groups and left there feeling worse than I'd gone there, and mine was like, it's okay because God kept her and she's safe and she was nurtured and loved, and I was very grateful to God. So I think I went to 2 or 3 of those groups and thought, no, I'm leaving feeling worse than I'm going. They're not actually helping me. But I'm probably still dealing with it. It's been years. Then, of course, my 3 children who had no contact with their biological mother, who never used the word step. We don't have stepchildren, we don't have step parents. We are a family, and they've said I'm the only mum they've ever had. So I was on the other side of that as well at the same time, and when the youngest of those children turned 16, then we'd organised for them to meet with their biological mother. So I was on both sides of the fence at the same time, thinking, what if they like her more than they like me? Or, what if she this or that? And so yes, it was a very tumultuous time, an extremely tumultuous time. I don't know how people do things like that without God. How do they get from one day to the next without God? And in that period of time, I had 6 children, and life was busy, and there was a lot of emotional turmoil going on. And as I said, I can't tell you that it's all completely gone. I can tell you that I can talk about it without crying, which is really good. And I do like to watch films about children that have been adopted. I think it's cathartic for me to do that. I actually like to put myself into that situation because it helps me deal with emotions. But I'm sure it's not all totally, completely dealt with. But I live with it, and I know that God has done amazing things with acceptance, and there was a lot of rejection around it, and she would have felt rejected, and then I felt rejected in those 7 years that she wasn't contacting me, and though they said it was nothing to do with me, there was a lot of thoughts that are irrelevant now, but yeah, so it'll be a lifelong thing. And I'm not her mother, I'm her biological mother, or I'm the person that gave her life. And thank God I gave her life and, didn't do the other side, but I'm just really blessed that she did have a lovely family raise her that really loved her and cared for her. And I'm really blessed about that. I'd love to meet her mum, put my arms around her and thank her. So maybe that'll happen one day.